Well, good evening, everybody. We welcome you to a special episode of A Day in the Life. And yeah, it is a beautiful evening. Well, tonight we commemorate 7 years after my grandpa passed away. And knowingly that on this day in 2019 is when my grandpa, Robert Baker, passed away from his life after battling 10 years of Alzheimer's. Well, anyway, it's a special day. It's a beautiful evening, and all I gotta say is we want to commemorate his finish of the race. Which one of these days it will be the time that we will finish our race and our journey here on this earth when we take our last breath and we go to be with the Lord. Well, anyway, I got a book here for us, and so far this is called The Valero Lines, and so far my grandpa is in it. So this is a unreleased book, and unknowingly it was right after my grandpa served his 6 years in the Marines, and what he loved to do was he was a hams radio club, and pretty much he was a Mason for a Masonic Lodge there in Brownwood, Texas. And so far, as you can tell, this is him, by the way, in this picture, which is pretty good. I'm going to read this to y'all, and so far, this was my grandpa. His name was Bob. Some people called him Robert, but anyway, called him Grandpa because he was my grandpa and stuff. But anyway, on this special day, the special episode that we can come together and to commemorate his life and the finish of the race for him, and knowing it's been 7 years after his passing, I would love to share this book with every single one of y'all here today. Well, anyway, I have always loved Morse code. Step said, I was probably in the 6th grade when I started getting interested. My brother and I used to go to a local radio club, and we didn't know anything. We tried to learn a little bit of Morse code, but it seemed virtually impossible. Forget it. When I finally graduated from high school, went into the Air Force, my interest got resparked. Once I got overseas in communications environment, he said, hello, break, CQ, here's K5, JEV, Kilo 5, Juliet, Echo, Victor, Colin. This is WB5JFG, go ahead. 5, K5JEV, I wish I've gotten into him when I was younger, said Three Rivers. Roger James Payne finally got on the air about 29 years ago. Back when I was first starting, I just used a lot of old surplus radio equipment. I'd like to talk for hours every Saturday. I've gotten to know a lot of people I've hardly even met. Anybody on the radio that I didn't like. What's amazing is that when you talk to somebody over a long period of time, you'll form a mental picture of them, and someday you get to meet them, and they'll be totally different than what you expected. Grandpa Baker said, I have been talking off and on to a man in Fort Stockton for about 2 or 3 years, and one night he asked me, Bob, who do you work for? So I told him. He said, you know, I've got a son who works for your company. I'd been working with his son, Dave Cresta, for all of that time. Didn't even know it. About 2 years ago, on a Saturday, I got a call from a ham in Dallas who said he had a son-in-law on the air. Payne said, I didn't have a son-in-law who was a ham, but I talked anyway. He's in the Air Force and he was coming out of Australia. What he was doing was really illegal since he didn't have a ham license. Stubbs described the ham system as a self-policed network, adding, "They just don't want anybody abusing the airwaves." The license is a good way to keep riffraff off the air. The CBs are a good example of that. But most of the CBers just listen now, so it's not quite as bad. Baker said he started as a CBer in 1960. CBs were just coming into being. It was always so interesting to talk to other people. So I acquired a ham license in 1966, he said. The best advantage of the ham radio is being able to communicate with other parts of the country and the world for weather conditions and emergencies. We clear the frequencies during an emergency for aid, assistance, and priorities. The radios really help when all the phone lines are down and all the electricity is out. The ham radio will run on a regular car battery. It's a great feeling to be able to help someone. But the ham is really just a hobby that you'll never see a stranger in. When you ask for a break on the airwaves, they'll always let you in. To me, the ham is just a different form of recreation, said Payne. I do mostly what they call reading the mail, where you just sit down and listen to what's on the airwaves. You could do it when the weather is bad or at night. If you have a broken leg, you can still participate. You know, there's a lot of handicapped and retired people who use their radios to pass the time. The enjoyment I get from my ham's radio is hard to describe, Stubbs said. I just enjoy being able to get on the radio at an hour a night. My wife doesn't like the idea I'd be on the radio rattling around all this racket when she's trying to sleep. I've gotten on the radio and talked for hours. They call that rag chewing, he said. Technically, you could talk anywhere in the world if you're on the right frequency at the right time of day, said Mr. Baker. I've talked to doctors, lawyers, and teachers in South America, the Virgin Islands, Canada, Australia, not to mention all over the United States. Me too, said Payne. I've also made contacts in New Zealand, Africa, Yugoslavia, England, Japan. Yeah, I've even talked to Inner Mongolia. Stubbs said, WA5MGS. We better break up conversation. This is K5GV clear. This is WB5JFG. We're off and clear. Enjoyed it. KA6CQB. Kilo America 6 Charlie Quebec Bravo. We're all clear. So pretty good when we hear what my grandpa loved as a ham radio operator before he joined, before he joined that, he was 6 years in the Marines, and he loved what he loved. Grandpa Baker, he was born December 11th, 1930. And, he was, this book is always what he loved. And even in ham's radio, he loved to talk to people. If there was emergencies or the weather, that's what he loved. But anyway, this book is about him and, what he loved. But, look at him. This was my grandpa in 1960. And as we look at the picture today, we still remember him and we celebrate the life that he lived. I mean, 7 years ago today, it was said that when we attended the funeral, we were all saddened by the passing of my grandpa, but we are joyful in this time because he finished the race. And that is what Grandpa Baker loved. I'm going to share a couple of memories that I loved with my grandpa. I was a little kid way back then. We're changing the subject now. I was a little kid way back then. Everybody is out for summer break. And, kids are out of school during that time. And so far, my dad's like, hey, you kids want to go to Brownwood for your summer vacation? And we said yes. So anyway, it's about close to my birthday. And anyway, it was pretty good. We enjoyed ourselves. And I remember my grandma, she got this big, huge pizza. And right next to it was a cake for all of us to have, especially with me having my birthday. So anyway, Grandma says, while cutting the cake, she tells my grandpa, she said, okay, Bob, how big piece do you want? And he says, I take the whole thing. Oh man, and I tell you one thing, that was one of the most funniest things that my grandpa has ever said. It was hilarious. And so anyway, the whole family just started bursting out laughing. And I could see my dad just laughing so hard. Uncle Ronnie was laughing really hard. It was funny. We all laughed. Greatest thing ever. And that memory still lives to this day. As a matter of fact, at the end of this video, we do have a special clip for y'all. And this one here today honors my grandpa. And so far, yeah, I tell you, it was a great clip. Also, as a kid, during the summer vacation, Grandpa had this big, huge swimming pool. And me and my brother, we got to swim in it. My uncle, Ronnie, was filming us as we were having a good time swimming. And so anyway, Grandpa was helping my brother getting into the thing. Okay then. Well, somebody's having fun. But anyway, I tell you. Are you done yet? That was funny. That kind of reminds me of me when I was a little kid. But anyway, yes. So my grandpa was helping my brother get on this big, huge float thing. It floats in the water in the swimming pool, and you can relax. It has armrests. You can float on water. It was just a pretty good thing. But anyway, yeah, we were having fun and a lot of stuff. And to tell you one thing, it's pretty good when you have memories like this to last a long while. But commemorating 7 years, and to this day remembering that Grandpa will always be with us. He will always be with us here. He will always be with us. He's watching over me, and he's watching over his son, and his other son, and his wife, and everybody that loved him. All of us we truly miss him a lot, and you know, rest in peace, Grandpa. You know, we love you, we miss you, and I know you finished your race. And to tell you one thing, it's always good when we all look at it. But anyway, you know, Grandpa, he worked at Valero, you know, but, you know, my dad, you know, they were pretty much a big family. My dad's family, you know, and we all look at the early life of Grandma and Grandpa, you know, living in Coleman, Texas. You know, my dad, he served as a newspaper, you know, get up in the morning, throw the paper. You know, that's what he did. He would get on his bike and he would go door to door and throw the paper, the newspaper, every morning. Then he made minimum wage off of that, and then, you know, worked also. He worked now 48 years meat market, and well, so far, you know, pretty good. But anyway, he was out at 18, and you know, Grandma and Grandpa, you know, they went from Coleman, Texas to Bay City, Texas, and then Grandpa worked in Valero. You know, I think it was probably down in Corpus Christi or something, or probably here in San Antonio. I don't really know, but you know, he worked at Valero, and he had a job, a good paying job too, that is. And so anyway, you know, they went from Bay City, and then my grandpa retired in 1989. And anyway, they wanted to find a good home. And so anyway, they said, hey, well, we're going to move again. This is our last time that we move. So anyway, from Bay City, Texas, they found a good home in Brownwood, Texas. And anyway, you know, Grandpa, he loved that home. You know, the Brownwood house is a good home. But anyway, I gotta say, now they moved there. You know, they had a swimming pool put in the ground, and we go in there, we go swimming. We had a good time just doing that. And so anyway, you know, Grandpa, he's getting old, and you know, he literally covered up the swimming pool. You know, he could no longer take care of it. You know, covered it with dirt, and he put grass over it. So yes, we knew where the swimming pool was. It's still there, you just can't see it. It's covered with dirt and grass, that's all it is. But anyway, Grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Then he battled Alzheimer's. And then, sadly enough, March 12th of 2019, exactly 2:01 a.m., Grandpa went to go be with the Lord. He passed away. And, you know, the funeral was held, and, well, so far, it took a toll on my grandma so hard, and for the rest of us, and I even cried my eyes out. I mean, especially when I did that video one day. And the vlog series. But anyway, you know, today, 7 years now, remembering Grandpa Baker. But, you know, is it a sad day? I could say 50-50. It's a sad day, yes. But the other half, I know that Grandpa is watching over me, and he might be standing out somewhere, just watching me do this video or something. Or he could be right here, just, right here, as we all know. Just be like, hey, I'm watching over my grandson and keeping eyes on him to see what he's doing. And well, so far, I gotta say, Grandpa, if you are there and you are listening, we love you very much. And we miss you. I mean, if you're out here, if you're out, we are celebrating today as a joyous occasion that 7 years ago today is when you completed your race. And today is when we honor that 7 years. And I think that next year when we start 8 years in 2027, we will commemorate another year of Grandpa Baker, and so far a journey well completed. I wanted to make this video to commemorate his life and commemorate how much he meant to us as a whole, as a family. Grandpa Baker was my dad's dad on his side of the family, and still have my grandma and my uncle and everybody here, but we got family here in San Antonio. We got family in Brady and Brownwood and Early, and so far, everybody to this day. And Odessa, where my cousin lives. But anyway, I just thought I wanted to make this video special, especially for today, March 12th of 2026, to commemorate Grandpa Baker. And, rest in peace, Grandpa, wherever you may be, in a beautiful evening as it is. But anyway, yes, thank you for tuning in to this special episode today. It is a joyous occasion that we celebrate a guy like Grandpa. And yeah, this was him during 1960. And gotta say, this book will always be a memory to me. Be a memory to all of us here on this special episode. But anyway, I just thought I'd take a half hour to really commemorate him on the day like this. That he completed the race, that he is now in the eternal home, walking and talking with God and with Jesus. And one of these days we will all be gone. We will all complete the race. That's one day. But take every day as being with the people that you love. Because it is very important to spend time with those that you love, and those days cannot go unnoticed. It's always important to take it one day at a time, because there's that saying, you're not guaranteed a tomorrow, because tomorrow is not given. But just take that with a grain of salt. I mean, we all know that the Lord could come back at any time, and he could say, hey, you've completed your race. Now you come with me. You come to the eternal home like Grandpa did. Grandpa completed the race. He was 88 years old when he passed away in 2019. But you know what? I tell you, one day that will be all of us. And one day we will be done from our labors, from our hard work that we have done while on this earth. And to tell you one thing, it will be really good. Well, anyway, thank y'all for coming out tonight in this special occasion episode. And so far, may Grandpa rest in peace. And never forget the man that we call Grandpa. a man that loved his family, a man that loved everything, and joined in the Marines, the United States Marines. And this is him. This is Grandpa Baker. But anyway, thank y'all.